All right, so welcome to another episode of our Discord dashboard series. In this episode, we're going to go ahead and get the actual mutual guilds. So what that means is essentially, let me just break this down again. So let's just say hypothetically I am in 10 Discord servers, okay? And of those 10 Discord servers, the bot happens to be in 7 of them, but I am only an admin of 3 of them. Okay? So that means that there should only be 3 guilds, those 3 guilds that I am an admin of, that also has the bot in, displayed on this menu. The reason why is because obviously, if you don't have the correct permissions, and again, like I said, I'm only using admin, but you can use any permission that you want. You can use manage server, you can use kickban, whatever it is you want. I'll let you guys decide whatever it is, whatever you feel like is best for you. But I'm just gonna use admin, right? So because I am the admin of those 3 servers, then of course it's gonna show me those 3 servers that the bot is in. If for the rest of the 4 servers, right? Because the bot is in 7 of them. For the rest of those 4 servers, I am not an admin of those servers, so I should not have permission to be able to manage the dashboard or manage the bot for that dashboard or for that server. So that's what I mean by needing the correct permission. Let's say, for example, let's use an example of a very popular bot, Me6, right? Me6 has its own dashboard, okay? But let's say, for example, I am in 25 guilds, and Me6 is in all 25 of those guilds. Does that mean I should have permission to every single one of those guilds? Well, I mean, if I have administrative permission, then sure. That's assuming that Me6 requires administrative permission, right? But let's say if of all those 25 guilds, I only have permission I only have administrative permission for 2 guilds. So that means I should only be able to configure the bot for 2 of those guilds. So I hope that makes a lot more sense, because it helps to understand why we need to do this to get the menu to show all of those guilds. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how we can compute this calculation. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to first go ahead and get all of the user guilds first, which we already done already. Now, before I continue, I do want to type annotate the guild object because it will just make things so much easier for us. So what I'll do is I'm going to go inside my code. So inside types, I'll create a new type called Discord guild. And this is going to have a ID of, and it's going to have an ID, which is a string. And again, I'm just basing it off of this, but I assume that this is literally exactly what is returned from the, I assume this is exactly what it is that's listed on the documentation. We can just double check that as well, just to make sure. Get guild. Let me see. Well, it seems like this returns more, but we want to, this guild object is actually a lot different than if you were to actually fetch the actual guild endpoint. This is a guild, this is a partial guild, I should mention. So I'm going to actually call this a partial guild instead. Okay? Because it doesn't actually give you every single thing. It only gives you partial information. Okay? If you want the actual channels, we'll actually have to fetch the actual guild endpoint. So we'll take the name, we'll take the icon, which is a string. Owner is a Boolean value. Permission, so this is actually a string. And features is an array of, for now I'll just do array of strings. I know like these features, these can actually be enums or we can actually type annotate that. But for now, I'm not going to really bother figuring out every single one of these strings, so we'll just leave it as a string array for now, okay? Because that'll take way too much time. So now that we have partial guild, what we can do is we can actually type annotate the API call. Well, first let's type annotate. The Axios call. So we'll have to go into the fetch bot guilds and fetch user guilds. So that's this Discord HTTP service class right over here. So remember that when we fetch this endpoint, it's going to give us an array of partial guild objects. So all we got to do is just do partial guild array. That's it. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing down here. They're literally the same. They're literally the same exact response types. Okay, so now let's see. We also need to type annotate the HTTP Discord service methods. Otherwise, it's going to imply that it's any, and that's very simple. All we got to do is just set the return type to Axios response partial guild, like that. Because remember, Axios response is a generic type. Okay, we'll do the same thing for fetch user guilds as well. So now, let's see what's. Oh, I think it's supposed to be a promise. Yes, I think it's supposed to be a promise. It's giving me an issue over here. Yeah, it's saying promise is not assignable to this. So let's fix this real quick. It should be a promise. There we go. There we go. That should get rid of that error. Okay, so now we actually have the data type for user guilds and bot guilds. We also do need to type annotate get mutual guilds as well. Let's do that very quickly. Get mutual guilds should actually just return its own custom type, which is user guilds and bot guilds. So we'll create another custom type. We'll call this mutual guilds type. And this will literally just be, it'll literally have two properties, user guilds, which is just an array of partial guilds. Likewise, bot guilds, which is also an array of partial guilds as well. And we can go into get mutual guilds. Well, actually, get mutual guilds should actually return something different. I just realized. Sorry about that. Yeah, we don't need this. Sorry about that. Okay, because get mutual guilds, I realized that we were just returning this as an example. We're not actually going to return this. Okay, but here's what we're going to do now. Remember, user guilds, this is now an array, and we can iterate through this array and do whatever we want. So here's the first thing that we're going to need to do. We're first going to need to filter out all the guilds where we're not an admin of. So we need the guilds that we are an admin of. And I'm going to show you how we can calculate the permission to test to see if we have a certain permission. So on the Discord docs, there should be this permissions tab over here. All right, so now we actually need to configure the permissions. Well, not configure, but we need to actually check the permissions. Because remember, we have this permissions flag over here, okay? And if I remember correctly, this permissions string, this numeric string value, you can actually get this value by taking all the permissions that the user has and ORing it, okay? You can see right over here that they take 0x40, which I think, I'm not sure what permission that is. I think that's reactions. Yeah, that's reactions. Yep, right over here. So that's the reactions permission. They're ORing those two together to get 2012. And all you got to do is just check to see if that value and like if you use the AND operator, right? This is the bitwise AND operator, and this is the bitwise OR. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, if you use the permission string and it with the flag, the permission flag, it should return true. Well, you compare it to the original flag, it should return true. So for example, 2012 and 0x40 should equal to 0x40. And if that's true, then that means they have the permission. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the number 0x8, which is administrator. We're going to AND it with the administrator. We're going to AND it with this value over here. And we're going to check to see if it's equal to 0x8. And if it is, that means that we do have, that means we do actually have that permission. So now the problem here is, how do we actually solve this problem? How do we actually do that? Well, let me go ahead and do this. Let me open up a node terminal. Well, actually, I'm not going to use this. Let me use the actual terminal instead, so I could zoom in. Okay, so let's, for example, let's take this server, which is a server that I am, let's see, which is a server that I should be owner. Why does it say I'm not an owner though? Oh wait, this is the bots. This is the bot. Let me do this. Whoops, user guilds. There we go. Let's go over here. Let's take this permission flag over here. Okay, so it's a string, but if we take the number, if we AND it with 0x8, it should equal to 0x8, which is true, right? You can see that over here, it returns 1. Let me try this again. You can see that it returns true because they're equal to each other. Okay, now the problem here is that this is a string value. So can we actually do that? Yes, you can. It will coerce the value to a numeric value. So you can literally just take the string value and it with 0x8 because this is I'm not sure if we can do that in TypeScript because this is done in JavaScript. I think we should be able to though, because if it won't let us do that, we can easily just convert this to a number value. So that's okay. Okay, so we're gonna get this string. We're going to AND it with the administrator privilege, and then we're going to go ahead and compare it to the administrator flag, which is 8. And if that's equal to true, then we're pretty much good to go. If you want to check to see if they have just managed guild, you would check to see if they have 0x20. Okay. Now, if you're an administrator, you have all the permissions. So if you're the administrator, then yes, it implies that you have the managed guild permission. But let's go ahead and filter out now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go and do this. Before I filter out, let me just show you how this works. So let's go ahead and do user guilds for each guild. And I just want to show you how this is going to work. So we're going to take the guild.permissions and it with 0x8. And you can see that it's giving us an error in TypeScript because it's not going to let us use a string, I think, to do this. I think we might need to actually convert this. Or maybe let's try this instead. Yeah, it's not going to let us do this because it seems like this is a string, so we do need to convert this to a number. I hope this doesn't... I hope there's no problems with this. Okay, so this should give us back 8. Okay, so let's make a request here. You can see that it gives us back 8. Perfect. Okay, so so you can see the first one, it gave us 0. Right, which means that we don't have administrator permission because the first server, remember, is devcord. The last 3, we are the owners of those servers, so it's going to give us back 8. So all we got to do is just check to see if the permissions, if the value is equal to the flag, and if it is, then we have the permission. Okay, so instead of using a for each, I just wanted to do this just to show you what it looks like. We're going to use a filter. So I'll actually call this admin guilds. Admin user guilds. Not really the best name, but we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it like this for now. We'll do user guilds.filter. Okay, so we're gonna filter all the guilds that we don't have admin permissions. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna first need to actually we could just do this. Parse int. I'm actually just going to destructure permissions like that. Parse int permissions. We're going to AND it with 0x8. We're going to AND it with 0x8 and compare it if it's equal to 8. So if it is, then it should return admin user guilds. Okay. Let's refresh. If we look at the console, you can see that it gives me every single server except for devcord. And I can join any server I want where I'm not an admin of, or I don't have the administrator permission, and it'll give me these 3 servers. It'll only give me the servers where I have the admin permission. Okay? Let's say, for example, if I want to check another permission, let's say if I want to check to see if I have, send messages permission, which obviously you probably would not want to do that. Okay? But just to test it out, what you can do is you can check to see, so this number is actually 800. So all we got to do is just check to see if it's just equal to 800. So this should give me back all 4 servers, including the devcord server. So if I go over here, if I refresh, you're going to see that. Let's see, did I do something wrong? I may have done something wrong, actually. I may have done something wrong. Yeah, I may have done something wrong. I think maybe the comparison is incorrect. Let's find out. Okay, so Let's see. Huh. Oh wait, I guess I gotta compare it to 0x80. Okay, yeah, I think I need to do that instead of not. Yeah, because this is a different base for the number, because like it was, we were comparing 8 to 8, because 0x8 is going to be equal to 8, but 0x800 is not going to be equal to 800, because we're comparing a decimal to a hex value, which is obviously not correct, because the 0x means it's a hex value, but 0x8 in hex is also 8 in decimal, but it's not the same between 800 and 800 in hexadecimal compared to 800 in decimal. They're not the same. So I think that's why we're getting that issue. This should fix that problem now. There we go, perfect. So you can see that we now have every single server, including DevCord. Okay, so just for good practice, I'm going to go ahead and instead of doing 0x8 equals 8, I mean, I could do 8, but I'll just do 0x8. Okay, so yeah, this will literally give us all of the correct guilds. I'm going to label this as bot instead. Actually, I'll leave it alone like that for now. Okay, so what's next? After we get all of the admin user guilds, we need to basically go through all of the bot guilds and check to see if every single guild that the bot is in is. We need to check to see if every single guild that the user is in, the bot is also in as well. So to do that, what we can do is we can say, hey, look, for every guild that the user is in, we can check to see if the bot has that guild as well. If by has that guild, I mean the bot is also in that guild, because the bot that would basically be inside the array of bot guilds. So I think the best thing that we could do is we can actually use the filter method again, and then we can use the sum method. So what I can do is const mutual guilds equals. So essentially what I want to do is for every single user guild, we'll filter out. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and reference the bot guilds, and we're going to say if there is some value inside the bot guilds, and we're going to pass in a predicate. So basically what we're doing is we're filtering out the user guilds, and the predicate for this filter is going to be based on this sum method. And this sum method returns true if this will return true if it passes some predicate for at least one of the elements. Okay, so it says determines whether the specific callback function returns true for any element of that array. So all we got to do is just check to see if there is some guild that's inside the user guilds that's also inside the bot guilds array as well. Okay, so I think what sum does is I think it actually iterates through every single I think it iterates through every single guild, I think. So let's try this out. So bot guild.id is equal to guild.id. So if there's some guild where the bot guild ID is equal to guild ID, then that means it'll pass this predicate for this filter and we'll return it. So let's go ahead and test this out. Let's return mutual guilds instead. And let's refresh. You can see we only have these 3 guilds. Okay, so to test this out, to make sure that this logic actually works, because because right now we only see 3 guilds that we are admins of. Here's what I'm going to do. Let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and kick the bot from one of the guilds. So I'll kick it from the Audi server. If I refresh, we should only see 2. So the sum method, you could think of it as like underneath the hood. What it does is it iterates through every single element, and it'll check to see if the test passes, right? And what we're doing here is saying, hey, look, if there's some element inside the bot guilds array where that element, the guild ID matches the user's guild ID, then it's going to pass, which is going to return true. And because this returns true, for the filter predicates function, it's going to take in this guild. Okay, so let's say, for example, if we were in 10 guilds, right? Let's say if we were in 10 guilds, the bot is in 7 guilds, but we're an admin of 4. Well, first of all, we already filtered out all of the guilds where we're not an admin of. So the user guilds is down to the user guilds is down to 4. Okay, and all we got to do now is just make sure that the bot is actually in all of those guilds, because like I said, we could filter out. The reason why we need to do this sum is because we could filter out all of the guilds we're not an admin of, but those guilds might not have the bot, right? If we actually look at, let me actually save this again. I'll actually show you the logs of admin user guilds real quick. If we actually go over to, let me close this out. If I go over to here, and if I go over to the logs, and if we look at admin user guilds, it's logged right over here. You can see that it's still showing the 3 guilds that we're an admin of, but that does not mean that all 3 of these guilds has the bot. Okay? So if you want, what we could do is we can actually keep track of the guilds that the bot is not in, and then we can just display that at the bottom of the menu and say, hey, look, these bots, these servers don't have the bot. Would you like to add it? So we can do something like that, but that'll be for later though. Okay, so all we got to do now is literally just return this here, okay, which we are, and all we got to do is just fetch this data from the front end. So that's pretty much how we can get all of the mutual guilds. So hopefully that makes sense. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and connect the front end with the back end. We're going to connect the menu page with this endpoint. So we're going to fetch this data from the menu page, and we're going to display everything that we need to display. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.